What's
It never gets old. It's you just blew out Holly's eardrums. Oh man. So all right, welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams. So excited. We got a full house. We got such a great show for you today. Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question, what should I be binge watching next? I just finished something and now I gotta watch something else. Well, we got you covered. This is episode 109 of Crossing the Streams. We have 108 hours of binge watching TV movie suggestions for you on our YouTube channel. So you can check us out there. We have two very special guests, friend of the show, Tony Berardo, and I'm sure soon to be future friend of the show, but making her debut visit, Holly Shannon. Holly, hello.
Hello, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Hello.
Holly is one of my podcast pals. Tell everyone about your podcast and all that kind of good stuff.
So my little show turns 3 in April. Feel free to binge watch that. And it's called Coffee Culture. And this season is all about connection and how we use the coffee meetup merely as a tool to be together. So that's the long and short of it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
I had one today.
What was in your cup?
It was whatever the house brew was at what's this? It's up in Northville. I should know this. I live here. I go there
Starbucks?
all the time. No. What is this Starbucks you speak of? No, it's I'll think of the cafe.
The laundry mat. The laundry mat.
You might know it better than me, Sally.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I love coffee, so I'm definitely a fan. Any section on espresso? Do you do anything about espresso or no?
Yeah, so I have some shorts where I dive into, a little more detail, like where things originated,
Cool.
coffee crime and spies.
Coffee crime. Oh, I love it.
All sorts of stuff, environment, anything to do with the growing of the coffee and distribution, supply chain. So I have little shorts that are like, say, 2 to 5 minutes where you can kind of get an education on it. But as I said, like coffee is merely the tool. Like we just say, hey, let's meet up for coffee, but it's not always really about the coffee. You might even drink tea. You just want to connect, right?
Yes.
But I do talk about both because I am a coffee snob and I love coffee. So I'm happy to talk about
I have to ask you something, Holly. Do you have an episode dedicated to Juan Valdez?
I don't. But I do have an episode on Mr. Coffee.
His autobiography.
Mr. Coffee. All right.
Okay.
All right.
It was the Tuscan Cafe that I was drinking coffee.
And it was my youngest interview. She was 9 years old. She did a school report on Mr. Coffee. And
that's amazing. I just interviewed someone, and his dad was part of the food scientific team that invented Coffee Mates.
Coffee Mate.
Powdered cream.
That's right. That's not why he was on the show. That was just a side tidbit. Also, we have Tony Berardo.
Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Making his return debut. Lover of movies that Bob doesn't like, or Howard. But Tony, remind everyone about the Top Gun. Remind everyone about the Berardo podcast.
It's the only one we disagree on, Bob. So you could find my show, The Berardo Podcast. You could follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz, at The Berardo. And I talk about health, wellness, social interaction, how mentally we need to handle this vastly crazy and technological world, and how we can physically and mentally be healthy. So,
hey Tony, can I just step in just to say, from this angle in the camera, you look like a nun who hasn't taken her vow yet.
Everybody was saying it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't you don't want this, because that's what you're
look at him.
No, there you go.
It
That's
definitely helps.
No,
I think you look good. All right, let's. I jumped right over the theme song. Let's do the theme song real quick.
All right.
Ollie, kick us off.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Tony.
Great.
They made a live show about their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff, Ron, Sal, Bob, Holly, Tony, Marcy, and then there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Sal.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, they cross the streams.
All right, Holly, you might want to plug your ears for this one. Everyone together.
We cross
the streams.
We
We cross the streams.
Hey,
That's the way we do it here. We cross the streams.
Never fails.
Nice.
It blows up. So we are not streaming live on Facebook just because Facebook banned me. So we're on YouTube and the Twitch. I think most people watch on YouTube anyway. So or Twitter. So anyway, so that's that. April 1st we'll return to our normal broadcast.
April Fool.
April Fool. But they have a new feature now. So if any of you guys want to stream this on your channel, they allow for guests to do that. Anyway. So that was good. Did you guys watch the Oscars?
all the highlights.
With the fast forward button.
I think there were two big misses, I think, for the Oscars. And I don't mean Angela Bassett not winning. I mean, like when the Cocaine Bear came out, like wasn't everybody just waiting for somebody to for the Cocaine Bear to take off the mask, and it would be like Matt Damon or George Clooney or
Pauly Shore.
Anyone. It could have been Pauly Shore would have been amazing.
Yes.
It just felt like that was the end of that joke.
Yeah.
And there wasn't. It was just like, nope, we're gonna bring out the least Academy Award winning thing here. And then the other big miss I thought was after Key won his Oscar and Harrison Ford comes out to give the award for Best Actor, and they cut to Key. Short round. Had he gone, Dr. Jones.
Oh yeah,
That would have been great.
That would have been like the only thing people would have talked about at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I was just like, please say it. It would have been so perfect because the whole thing. Anyway,
did it seem to you that Harrison Ford, like always, is just annoyed and just perturbed by it? It's like, don't fucking talk to me. I don't. It's like, what do you are the least movie star of all time, you know. I just thought there would have been a better moment between him and Short Round.
Yeah, they gave a little bit of a hug when he got up.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And he also might be one of those movie stars that he's totally the opposite in real life, like with other people. I doubt it, but maybe he gave him a nice big smooch backstage or something.
I think he's high a lot. I think he's high.
I think we're having a Harrison Ford renaissance, I think, because he's on 1923. He's on Shrinking, which if you just finished the first season, if you haven't, we talked about it on the show, Tony, I think did. And it's one of the best shows ever. And partially because Ted Lasso season 3 came back today, though it actually came back last night at 11:30, and we watched it before we went to bed.
Did the whole thing drop, or is it?
No, it's a episode. It's week. And then, but Brett Goldstein, who does Ted Lasso, does Shrinking. I mean, it's his show, and he wrote one of the best episodes so far. So, anywho,
awesome show.
One of my favorites.
So we have a lot to get through today. Last week was we talked about Chris Rock Selective Outrage. So I've watched it since then. And we talked about Poker Night. We talked about Cocaine Bear. I can't remember this guy's name. It was a YouTube channel. We talked about Creed, and we talked about This Is Where, oh my God, where
I Leave You.
This is Where I Leave You. Thank you. I couldn't read it. And then today we're talking about The Big Brunch, Dan Levy's show. We're talking about the MH370. The plane that disappeared, and Ron's going to explain which plane that was. Well, Raging Bull, The Last of Us, and Losers. But first, because last week we talked about Creed, and we had hoped that Bob would be on because it was his birthday show. So a belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
That's so nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jeff.
No problem. But since you are the Rocky guy, right? I mean, So I did want to give you a second to talk about Creed. I know this is not an official part of the show, but I didn't want it to go without you giving at least your 2 cents.
Well, I'll say this for Creed. I saw it, and it was a what's the word? It's a mechanical movie. It hit all the points that it's supposed to hit, rather bloodlessly, rather unemotionally. The character of Adonis Creed, Sylvester Stallone wrote him several years ago to be in the first Creed movie, right? And Apollo Creed's son. Michael B. Jordan, I want somebody to tell him, dude, you can smile once in a while, just once, just in any movie, just smile, just show that there's something other than consternation and anger. The whole movie is like this, and it's like, I mean, they keep trying to soften him. They show him with his wife and his daughter, but he's always got a clenched jaw, and it's just, I don't know. The whole thing is just so it's just painting by numbers, you know. Now the plot of this movie is, and I'm not giving anything away here. A violent friend from years past resurfaces and has some dirt on Adonis, and weaves his way into getting a shot at the title. Yeah, it was lip syncing. Yeah. So I don't know. There's I mean, the critics loved it and the audience loved it on Rotten Tomatoes. Normally that's a slam dunk for me, but I watched this and it was just joyless. There was just no, and I hate to say it.
Versus Rocky movies.
Versus Rocky movies. There was joy in the Rocky movies. It was
arcs.
Yes, there was none of that here, and I don't know why. I don't know why they just decided, in some meeting, hey, look, nobody's going to smile. This is all very serious, very, very, very dramatic stuff here. So I was surprised that I didn't like it, but I didn't.
All right. Well,
thank you for giving me that moment.
Well, I had to. All right. Well, keeping it upbeat. Let's go to MH370.
The funny part about that transition is I knew exactly where you were going with that.
Creed was the in-flight movie on that. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. So
Jeff is funny.
He is very funny.
Thank you, Jeff. So look, guys, I travel a lot for my job. I'm on airplanes all the time, as you guys know.
Yes.
I am fascinated by the travel industry, the entire industry itself, just the pure logistics of it fascinate me. Every aspect of it, about how you get your tickets and luggage and check-in and TSA and just every aspect of it. Boeing 777s, you guys should know, are the most modern, safest, best designed, most efficient, cost-effective airplanes out there. So the very idea that a Boeing 777, a modern one from 2014, can not just crash, but disappear is an impossibility. And it's truly an impossibility. And nobody loves capers more than me. I've done multiple shows on Crossing the Streams talking about capers and bank robberies and things that make the impossible possible. And I love stories like this. We don't have, listen, I'll save you guys the ending. There is no answer to this. Nobody knows the answer of what happened to this plane. There are 3 prevailing theories about what happened to this plane. I'll go through them really quickly because I know we got to get through a bunch of shows today. But the bottom line is this, guys. All 3 of the theories are nearly impossible. However, you got to remember the greater context of this documentary. And that is the context of the documentary is that a 777 disappeared, which is an impossibility. In order for this plane to have disappeared, all of its systems would have had to shut down, and it would have required the cooperation of literally 6 independent countries and all of their radar and airspace and technology for each independent country. It just cannot happen. So the fact is 227 people are gone. This happened in 2014. And there's been no credible remains of the plane. One piece was found, but they're still not positive it came from this plane.
Wait, they don't even know that piece.
They do
Well,
not know
people
where
say
this.
it's,
Wow.
that it was planted there.
Yeah, they do not know. In fact, there's a very good rationale for why it did not come from this plane. So the bottom line is 3 theories are out there. There's the pilot theory, there's the hijacking theory, and then there's the interception theory. Pilot being the pilot deliberately shut down the systems, put the plane into a silent mode, and deliberately crashed the plane.
Yeah.
The hijacking is less feasible, but apparently one flaw on 777s that it is technically possible for a passenger to get into the avionics suite of this plane and do, if they know what they're doing, they could start to disable systems without getting into the cockpit. That's highly, highly unlikely, but still technically feasible. And then the third option is the interception option, which is apparently this plane was also carrying highly technical, sophisticated military equipment from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. And there is discussion about the possibility that American equipment that was not supposed to get to China was on this plane. And the suspicion being that the American military might have had something to do with this. The fact of the matter is that the pinging of this plane long after it disappeared from radar is suspicious. They don't know how it happened. They don't know where this plane is the bottom line.
Okay, when you say the pinging after they lost it on radar, so there was ping, but from where? What?
Right. So there's a little known technology up until this plane went dark. There's a company out there called Inmarsat. And what they have this technology, it's called handshake technology, which is to say it doesn't communicate necessarily with airplanes, but there are systems on an airplane that will ping a satellite without having to do anything. It'll ping the satellite, and the satellite essentially says, yes, we see you, you're an airplane, and you're within this sphere of the globe, right? And you can pinpoint, depending on the pings, theoretically where the airplane is. The fact is, it doesn't prove anything because you can manufacture those pings, and there's all kinds of ways to solve that for the pinging. So the bottom line is that the Malay government has been wholly unhelpful. They've bumbled the investigation from the beginning. They've done a terrible job with the families that were impacted, and they have no idea what happened to this plane. So what's interesting about that is that this is the very first time since the advent of social media that crowdsourcing of an investigation has happened, and that has centered into 2 main groups on the internet. One group called the Independents, who are filled with aviation experts and engineers and technical people. And then there's another group out of Great Britain called the Tom Nodders, who are people that physically look at satellite images of the ocean. There's thousands of these people that are just doing nothing but looking at satellite images of the ocean, trying to find this plane. So this is a 3-part documentary. Each part's 45 to 60 minutes. It is an incredibly well done Netflix documentary. Netflix has built now its history of producing terrific documentaries. This was actually produced by the company Raw TV. Raw TV is known for the Shackleton documentary. If anybody saw that,
I did. It was awesome.
Awesome, right? And more recently, for those who are Stanley Tucci fans, they also did the Stanley Tucci series on CNN, Searching for Italy. So it's an incredibly well produced, well funded. If you are into this kind of documentary about a whodunit with a lot of technical aspect to it, I was really excited about talking about this today because I was so fascinated by this story. I'll just say on a personal note, when you have no idea what it is, I believe in the Occam's razor style of just whatever seems the most plausible, the most likely tends to be the correct thing, with all things being equal. So that leads me to believe that probably the pilot had something to do with it. But the pilot is an impeccable, long-term, 30-year plus pilot with a family, kids, no history of mental illness, just
No
a
motive.
no
Right.
motive, a well-respected guy. It's not likely. None of these alternatives are likely.
Well, it's
Well,
definitely not likely that the American government would do anything fucked up. So
No.
that's not
that
likely.
leaves option 2. I think.
So, and I know we got to go, and I apologize, Jeff, but
no, you're
but
fine,
I just
Ron.
will say
Oh, good.
that it's so unlikely, this entire situation, that you have to look at things that are just absolutely implausible.
Yeah.
Like it's right. So it turns out, right? Yeah, right.
It's hanging above Times Square in a plexiglass box now.
I'll just say
That's great.
one last thing, and then we can move on. None of the passengers' cell phones have ever been turned on or pinged since this thing went missing. So that the idea of it landing in Kazakhstan and all these people are somehow still alive, not likely.
But remember what they said about the cell phones is that family right away started calling, and they were all saying that it was ringing and not going straight to voicemail.
True. Some of them,
Yeah.
some of them were
Yeah.
ringing and not going to voicemail.
Like,
But
Oh,
listen, I
strange.
highly recommend it. It's a fantastic watch. 3 episodes. I think you guys will really enjoy it. As you can see, I'm really passionate about it right now. So
Yeah.
enjoy,
Thanks
man.
for
I'm
the
definitely
review.
gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch that, man.
I'll finish it.
So
I'm
you
in.
think it was the pilot?
I don't think it was the pilot, but I'm just saying of the 3 leading.
Well, what's the
theories,
fourth? What's the Ron Lippitt
Yeah.
fourth choice?
Personally,
Just
I mean,
fell. Just
the idea of a structural that's not possible. It would have. There are reasons why they explain on the documentary how that's not possible.
Well,
I don't think it's in the Indian Ocean. I think it's in the South China Sea, on its way to China. So I think something sinister. I do not think this was a mechanical failure of any kind. I think something sinister happened, and it probably with the government.
So Chinese government?
Maybe, who knows?
Or our government.
Or our government. No.
possibly
the
on an
money.
island. Possibly on an island with a polar bear.
Yeah.
Hope it's not a cocaine bear. Those people have suffered enough.
All right, Ron, that was awesome. All right, I think.
Good job, Ronnie.
Yeah, that was good.
All right,
Good job,
let's go with The Last of Us. Let's talk about this just finished season 1. This is one of the hot shows. Tony B is going to take us through this.
So, has anybody played the video game? Show of hands.
I have not.
Okay, very good. I only played a little bit here. I think it came out in 2014, I want to say. But it's a PlayStation PC game. I'm an Xbox guy, I always have been. But a buddy of mine was playing this, and the gameplay, it's very Grand Theft Auto, but graphics are just unbelievable for its time, and it continued to get better over the years. I think they came out with a sequel. And the reason I bring that up is because you don't really have to know anything about the game at all. It's interesting to know that the game did exist, and if you have a TikTok account, you should just search Last of Us comparisons, because they do like shot for shot. You know, people have accounts where they'll have the video game scene versus like what HBO Max it, and it is like spot on the writing, because not only were the writers and producers involved from the game that came to the show, but they even used the voice actors in a lot of interesting ways for characters in the live action series. And so that alone, you put that aside, how good is this? Is this worth the watch? If you don't like zombie flicks or zombie series, you'll actually still like this. That's how great of a series I think this is. The character arcs are unbelievable. The stories are like so in depth for just being a 45-minute long episode, and there's only I think 8 or 9. And you really get immersed with these cultures, or immersed in these characters from the get-go. You know, especially with Pedro's character, obviously from the get, he's got the biggest arc. But each character kind of has this interesting like beginning and conclusion. And there might be maybe potentially more seasons. Hopefully there is. I think they were in talks of that. But they still got to write them. But the reason I say that it's so important, because when you watch like episode 1, there's various stories going on, almost like if you guys remember the movie Crash. Great movie. So you look at that whole movie as a whole, right? Where you could separate each character and make it like an episode. And they did that very well each episode, to where they were able to give you enough character love that you appreciated the character and you felt for the character. But there was even a few episodes where there were some characters introduced in the very beginning of that episode. Within 45 minutes, they're toast and you get a little misty. And you're like, how did I build a relationship with these characters in 40 minutes? And it's possible. The writing is exquisite. And I think that's because the writing in the game was exquisite. And aside from, there's really I can't think off the top of my head, any live action series or movie that has been spot on from the game. There's no adaptation of video game to movies, except, of course, the classic 1983 Mario Brothers. That's the only game to movie that's fantastic. The rest of them are kind of like, eh. Lara Croft was garbage. Uncharted was eh.
Tron.
Tron. Well, yeah, Tron was good.
I don't mean to jump in here and squash
Street
your
Fighter.
theory.
That was
but,
great.
Ron, The Rock, and Rampage. I thought.
Oh my god!
I thought was one of the best video games.
Which by the far, Rampage was like one of my favorite arcade games. So that one kind of hurt because that was, come on, it was The Rock, whatever. But I mean, honestly though, there's been some pretty good ones. But this is by far the best adaptation. But even if you don't know about video games and you watch this, it's just a great story. Every episode is fantastic. It leaves you wanting more. They ended it beautifully to where very Game of Thrones-y, to where like if they never did any more Game of Thrones, I'd be happy. I'm content. I'm satisfied. I want more, but I'm not like, Schitt's Creek. Like Schitt's Creek, I want 5 more seasons, But this is like, I'm satisfied. I'm content, but it's hopefully they pick up more seasons. It is one of my favorite HBO Max series and definitely my favorite zombie adaptation of anything. And it's not really even zombies. I mean, there's a totally different storyline that goes into it, but the closest thing to a zombie. So really good.
I think it's a realistic take on the zombie concept. So to back what you just said is my wife's never been into any zombie movies. Loved The Last of Us. Now, I think a lot of people who are hardcore Walking Dead fans this will be hit or miss, right? So in terms of whether or not they feel this really lives up to that kind of zombie apocalypse movie, or a TV show. So there's differences. That Pedro Pascal is amazing. If you love The Mandalorian, picture an entire series where he's just not wearing the helmet, and then you get this.
It's a great comparison. Yeah. And even sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. One more thought that came to me is I appreciate mushrooms so much. Like I have mushroom coffee. Okay, maybe we could talk about that on Coffee Culture. But I'm a mushroom fiend. So I know about cordyceps and I know about the fungi that literally goes into the brain. And I've seen videos. I've been stuck in these time lapse videos to where I watch these mushrooms take over insects, and it's so fascinating. Even before this came out. So when this came out, I'm like, this could actually happen. And then they throw in the story of like, well, it can only happen if the planet gets warmer. And then we realize, oh shit, climate change, 1 degree. So it's like in 50 years, like this could totally happen. Like I could see it happening, and it terrifies you a little bit more. So if you again, if you forget about zombies, like you said, Jeff, and you appreciate that storyline and you watch it from the beginning, you get sucked into it. It's gnarly. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's really
I
good.
wanted to like it.
Oh, you did not watch it.
I watched 2 episodes. I swear to God.
You're lying.
And I swear to God. And I thought, okay, I'm up to here with zombie series and movies. And I was either halfway through the 2nd episode or it was close to that, where they revealed that, I mean, in every other zombie movie and series, it's been a virus, right? No, right. This is a fungus. Yeah. Wait, I went, no, fuck this. This is such a bullshit, I don't know. It just
I am messaging you the actual videos of this real mushroom that takes over insects and literally makes the insect.
I
do
have
things.
I have seen that. I've seen it. But I mean,
Dude.
didn't it strike anybody as a little funny that this is a fungus? The other ones were all virus. I don't know. It just
Well, no. Well, I thought, like I said, I thought it made it realistic and more scary. But the most of the times these zombie shows, they're not really about the zombies, right? The zombies are. It's really about
what
the really
caused it,
scary part is about how we as a people completely fall apart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
attack each other. The real enemy in any of these shows, including The Walking Dead, are the other people. Not necessarily, there's the threat of the zombies, but it's the other people that are way crueler or more.
Yes, it's always that. I loved World War Z. I did. I love that.
Like I Am Legend, that's had a very I Am Legend feel.
I like that.
Except
I like
it
that
was,
movie.
it actually had a plot and good writing. And
I'm gonna finish this series. I promise you, Tony.
Well, episode 3 of The Last of Us is like it's an hour and a half. It's longer than the other ones, and it's the one with Nick Offerman and
pivotal.
The guy from The White Lotus, whose name I can't remember, but it's an amazing movie, and it's standalone. It's a complete You could watch just that episode and be like, "Oh, that was a damn good movie."
Okay.
And I gotta tell you, I don't even think there's a zombie in it.
I am going to watch it. I'm gonna because I know and just like your review, sir. Everybody loves it, and I'm gonna get past the fact that it's a fungus.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate
Such a fun guy.
So this show is the one show in our house that we all watch together weekly. I have one kid still home at 17. That too. So every Sunday night, everyone knows, are we going to sit down and watch The Last of Us? We watched every episode, and I will say that I love a lot of them, and some of them I'm like, who's on Facebook? And I scrolling through and playing word games while I'm watching. But there were some episodes better than others. But I did love the last one.
Yeah, that
was good. It was a good ender.
That was good.
All right. Well, with all this talk of mushrooms, let's get to the big brunch.
Wow.
Yeah.
The transitions are on point.
Yeah.
I'm crushing the segues. Yeah.
Well, Tony kind of gave you the segue with Schitt's Creek, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, Holly, here's your debut. Take it away. Tell us all about the big brunch.
All right. Well, I really do enjoy food shows. I really am into food, not just coffee, as we know. And I should also say I live in DC, and it's the national sport of the whole District of Columbia. You have to go to brunch every week. And first of all, I fell in love with Dan Levy and all the characters in Schitt's Creek. I mean, there's such a lovable bunch. Like you have to watch if you haven't seen it. But then Dan Levy did this first season, The Big Brunch, and I was all in because I love brunch and food and all that. And they did serve espresso martinis, so I'm just going to get my coffee in there somewhere. And the way it was set up is they had 3 judges, and they had actually a bartender that would make them a drink while they were watching the challenge unfold. And there was, I think there was like maybe 9 chefs, something like that. And they were a really diverse group, like all different types of foods they were making, some ethnic, some just because they loved it, that type of thing. And strangely, there was like 3 competitors from Virginia, which is really close to me. So I'm going to try and like physically go to their restaurant to try their food. But every episode made you hungrier and hungrier. Like there's all these like delicious appetizers and entrees and scones and, all kinds of things. So I really liked it. It was light and fluffy. It was light. Like I like that about food shows, and it felt accessible. Like some of the recipes kind of like, well, I'm going to try and make that chocolate chip scone. Like it just felt like I could do this. And so I really liked it.
How many episodes were there?
It's a really good question. I think maybe there was like maybe 12 or something. There wasn't that many. was good though.
That's a lot.
Who was manning the omelet station? That's what I want to know.
Do you know they didn't really do omelets? Like they really definitely broke the barrier. Like they would give them like different challenges, and everybody went like out of the box, which I kind of thought was pretty cool. I mean, there were some basics. There were, like I said, scones and things like that, but there wasn't like just the classic omelet, to be really honest. It was.
Is it like a legit like cooking competition, or is there some storylines in between there? Like, how is it?
No, like each person, like they would give everybody the same challenge, and then they would go into the kitchen and come up with like the appetizer and the entree for that particular challenge. So, and they had access to all of the food in the place. Like everybody had equal access. They all had their own station. So then it would just be like, here's what you're making, go. And they would like run to the shelves and get all the food, and they'd have the time frame was usually pretty crunched, like how much time they had to produce the food.
Did you see Chef?
I did.
The movie Chef, with John Favreau.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I love that movie.
Well,
that's a great movie. The series is really good too. Actually,
what was? And you know what? I think I'm taking you the wrong direction here. It's not Chef. No, that was a great movie. I love that the food truck.
You see
and
Spider-Man
and a cameo by Robert Downey Jr., whose career he made in Marvel, all that. No, this was the one with Ray Fiennes, which totally sucked about 4 months ago.
Oh,
The
the menu. That was freaky.
That was freaky.
That was so freaky. That was so freaky. You know what I think they were riffing on was like Noma and all those like biological, the chefs that like use like weird science to like blow something up in a balloon and then you eat it. You know what I mean? With like weird
something up.
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
is that where you're like running for their lives? Is that the movie? Are they like running for their lives in the preview?
Yeah, well, later on, there's a couple of them that are.
I heard the menu was good. You didn't like it?
Of course, you didn't like it.
No, come on, Tony. I love most movies, and I swear to you, I'm gonna finish The Last of Us and report to you.
Who's an animal, Larry? Huh? Who's an animal? Your mother's an animal, Larry.
Yeah. My biggest disappointment with Schitt's Creek was finding out that Dan Levy that's all he is that character.
Oh yeah, kind
of. Because once you do that,
so it's Dan Levy playing Dan Levy as Dan Levy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like
Eugene Levy has played himself for 40 years. To great effect. I mean, I love the guy.
Has anyone caught Eugene Levy's documentary yet?
No.
The travel.
So good.
I have to see it. What's it on?
Oh my gosh, it's on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, it's so good.
Okay,
that's great. All right.
Great.
Well, nice job, Holly.
Good job,
Holly. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Next time I'll send espresso martinis to everybody first.
We'll take them. Good review. Thank you, Holly.
Great review of The Big Brunch, a game show where there were winners and losers.
Wow.
I know. Look at that. Now the pressure's on. Sal is going to take us through Losers, the Emmy-nominated show on Netflix.
Is this about Will Smith? What is that? Who was that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Ooh, the smack.
So
Heard for miles.
You could insert Lion's joke here. I mean, it's just whatever, right? But basically, it is. You guys are joking about it, but that's pretty much what it is. It's about all these people that have lost, that have been losers in their life, whether it's a sport. Well, it's most of it's sports, but they've overcome the loss to have something better come out of it. And there's like 7 or 8 episodes. There's one even on a boxer, Bob. See what his name was. I want to make sure I told you the name. See,
he blew his one chance, that kind of guy?
No. Well, he the miscast champion. He was a boxer. He was forced into boxing by his abusive father, and then he becomes a world champ. And a knockout loss gets him into something else that's his real true passion. So that's an episode about him. There's actually an episode about a guy in curling. I'm not a big curling guy. I don't know the history of curling, but Pat Ryan
done
in
that. It's fun.
1985. Pat Ryan in 1985 lost a match in the Canadian Nationals. He was like picked to win it, whatever. But in the loss, he developed like a new strategy for the sport, and it changed the sport forever, which nobody still watches. So I don't know how much it changed, but anyway. So they've got all these different stories like that. Well, the one that so it's really cool. There's about 8 episodes. They're very, very fast. They're only probably about 30 to 40 minutes long, and they're kind of little autobiographies of that person. So the one that I watched was the last one, and I definitely wanted to watch it because I totally remember this. It was the this particular episode was called The 72nd Hole, and it's about John Van de Velde, who was a professional golfer in the 90s. He was from France. So they kind of do a little autobiography of him, which is really cool because I love golf and I love autobiographies. So just hearing about how he started. France is not known. Their only British champion was in 1907. So France is not known for golfers. They're not known for golfing when he started, for sure. And they go back, they show pictures of him, they interview him. And this is really a funny story about him because he wanted to golf. Like him and his parents, they lived on this golf course, but it was about half a mile away from their house. But nobody used to go to it because, like I said, when he started, nobody really played golf. But he wanted to go there, and his dad was kind of intrigued. Like, man, why does my son want to play golf so much? But they didn't want to spend all the money to get lessons and all that. So they sent him to a putt-putt course. They literally sent him to a putt-putt course for like a month, and the father, he's kind of narrating it. And the father says, look, I looked at his mother and says, hey, we got to get this kid out on a regular course. I mean, this putt-putt's driving him.
How many times can he play the windmill?
Correct.
Come on.
So anyway, it was just cool how he started. And then obviously he becomes a phenom, and he's just he wins a tournament in Europe. And now he's he's heralded in France, and he's just beloved. And now he gets into the British Open. He's the 151st ranked golfer in the world. On the first day, he shoots a 75, which is really not that great. But the conditions at Carnoustie is just treacherous. It's raining, it's windy. He shoots a 75. Tiger Woods that day shot a 71. So he's probably in 12th place after the first day. He's hanging in there, but obviously still a no-name. Because you play every day in a tournament, it's 4 days. So every day he would go to a podium to speak to reporters. Well, after the first day, there was 2 reporters in the room, one from France and one from like the United States or whatever. And then the second day he shoots a 68. Best round of the day, kind of moves up the ladder a little bit. Now all of a sudden there's about 30 reporters after his play that day. He's like in 8th place. Third day, I forgot what he shot. He shot really, really well. Well, he did shoot really, really well because on the 4th day, he's got the lead. Now there's going into the last day, there's over 200 reporters talking to him. Obviously, from that first day, it changed because he was the 151st ranked golfer. Nobody knew who he was. And it's really cool. So anyway, I know we got a lot of going on today, but they go into the 18th hole. He's got a 3-stroke lead.
No, don't say it. Don't say
hole. All he's got to do is basically get a 6. And he's the British Open champion, never been done since 1907. Blah, blah. I mean, just the list goes on what this guy could become. His caddy's like, just hit it up the fairway. Like, just go 3 irons to the green. But one of the things he did all week was he was going for it. He was always hitting driver off the tee. He was always playing aggressive. So he said, I can't stop now. So he pulls out the driver. And he hits driver, and he gets lucky. He kind of hits it to the right, and it kind of goes out of bounds, but it goes kind of on this other tee box for number 17. And even Mike Tirico called the game too. A young looking Mike Tirico, man. Wow, did he look young? And so he's calling the game. They're like, oh my God, it's perfectly placed out there. He couldn't have placed it better. Although it was a bad shot, he kind of still had a look at the green. So he's about 200 yards out. He's like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take my 3-iron and go for it. He hits it, goes in this like heather, this high heather. It comes short of the green. It goes in this high heather, but it's kind of sitting up. By the time he gets to it, because it's such a long walk and everything, even the announcers are like, man, that ball kind of sunk before he got there. Crazy, right? So he's like, no, I'm sorry. It goes in the water first. I'm sorry. The shot goes in the water. It kind of goes in the water, but it's sitting up on mud. And then it goes deeper into the water. They show him he's in the water, kind of looking to see if he should hit it out of the water. And he decides to pull it out. And there's a famous photograph of him sitting in the water, with his jeans up to his ankles, whatever, or his pants. Anyway, he takes it out of the water, takes a penalty stroke. He's got to make a 6. So now he pulls it out. He's already on 3 now because he had to give up a stroke. So now he's got to drop it in the heather or whatever. He hits it. It goes in the sand trap. So now he's sitting 4 in the sand trap.
You've described every round of golf I've ever played. Keep going.
Now, the other guy, there's another golfer that day on 18 with him, probably the leader, and he's in the sand trap as well, but his ball's like a little bit forward. I'm not kidding you. And the golfer goes, hey, man, let me go first. You got a lot on your mind because this guy might have been out of it. I forgot what the scenario was. But he told Gene, he goes, I'm going to go first. He holds it. He hits it out of the sand, which is what he's got to do.
Yeah.
In it. Crazy, right? So they watch him hold it. Place is going nuts. Gene Van Vel is like, oh, my God, this is what I got to do. He hits it out, doesn't make it in the hole. Matter of fact, it's about an 8-foot putt. Gets it out. Now he's got to make this putt to tie. Tie, not even to win. So he makes the putt, great putt, ties it up. Now it's a 3-way tie for the British Open. He should have won it. He was up 3 strokes, but at least
He didn't.
No, he didn't win.
It's a short game. You should have stayed at the putt.
That's always the short game.
For real.
They're he's got 45 minutes, and in this documentary, they're talking to him, but they're also using like animation to show what he was feeling like. And he's in the locker room mulling over what he just did for 45 minutes. He even says, he goes, part of it was good, that 45-minute break, because I got to kind of rehash what I did wrong, and maybe I could go out and see what I could do right. Anyway, long story short, he goes back out there. His first tee shot goes out of bounds, like into the woods, and it's pretty much over where they show him like in the rain sulking, and it's pretty much done. I mean, he's over. He comes in second place, so. And anyway,
what a loser.
So, yeah, one of the biggest, obviously collapses in British history, PGA history, major history, golf history. But he used to run this school in France, and every year they would get like 15 kids that would come out to the school. Every year he did. He's a pro. He's been a pro for a long time. After that loss, 200 kids came out because he was, even though it was
a legend.
What happened, he was revered. He was a legend in France. And he went on to obviously teach a lot of kids. The sport became big after that in France. Wow. And anyway, he went on to he retired in 2008, and he's really big with UNICEF now, and just a class act. And he lost. And the interviews he gives after, he's a true good sport. He didn't sulk, didn't say anything. Just said, "Hey man, I played aggressive the whole round. I probably could have just hit it up the fairway and won this thing, but I didn't want to do it that way." Great that one was really good. Watch the other ones. I highly recommend it. I think they're all going to be that exciting. So,
what are you rating it?
Thanks.
I'm going to give it. I haven't seen the other ones because it's kind of a series, but this particular episode, I'll give it a 4.
4 tomatoes. All right.
And then the rest of it, we'll have to see which ones are good. So, but I definitely highly. If you're looking for something short, 30, 35 minutes an episode.
It sounds like it all boils down to the last 5 minutes of Tin Cup, right?
Yeah.
You're like, will you fucking stop doing that? Just stop that.
Sounds like a good series. It sounds like, I want to see the other ones.
Yeah, so do I, actually.
The agony of defeat. All right, from the golf greens to...
Good one, Sally.
From the golf greens to Greenwich, Connecticut. Let's talk about the Mick.
Greenwich. It's
Has anyone seen the Mick? It is not new. No one?
No.
No one's seen it? You have seen it, Tony.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Sunny fan.
Okay.
So I had to
creator,
watch it.
Dave Chernin. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is where Caitlin Olsen, we know her from there, and she plays the Mick. So this is not a new show. There are 2 seasons. This is a Fox show. And I just remember there was a time when Fox had a new show, a new sitcom. I'd get excited because, you know, they brought us The Simpsons, Married with Children. And, you know, it was just a time when Fox just had like the funniest shows. Well, the Mick, I think, is right up there with one of their funniest shows. It really cracks me up. I love watching it. I watched it with my kids. So fun. So Caitlin Olsen plays Mackenzie Murphy, Mick. And she's somewhat of a, you know, she's got good looks, but speaking of losers, she's a loser. She drinks too much. She parties too much. She steals, and she's just not someone you're going to look up to. But her sister hit it rich when she was she was a cocktail waitress in a strip club, and she got knocked up by a very wealthy man. So her sister's living large in Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut, in a mansion. And the episode, you know, there's shows that we watch and everyone says, oh, just keep watching it and I promise you'll get hooked. And you're like, I'm 3 episodes in. Schitt's Creek. So anyhow, the very first episode of the Mick is so funny. It's one of those. Yeah. I've seen the first episode of the Mick probably 6 times because it's that funny. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because I've been so bored with TV. I said to myself, go watch the Mick again. Those are, you know, I've seen Friends a million times, so I'm watching the Mick for the second time. So Carla, I'll say Jimenez, I don't know how to say her last name. She plays Alba. She's a cleaning lady in this. Oh, I didn't even tell you what happened. So anyway, what's her name? The Mick goes to visit her very wealthy sister, and the place gets raided. While she's there, her sister and her brother-in-law, they're arrested, FBI, and they're like, take care of the kids. We're going to prison. And Mick is stuck with her 2 nephews and her niece, very spoiled, rich, spoiled assholes. And she moves in with them. Her and the cleaning lady become like Laverne and Shirley. And we're talking physical comedy that is just so much fun. The 2 of them do the silliest, best things, but then also I've got Scott MacArthur, who was in the Righteous Gemstones. He was the bad guy in the first season. Do you guys know who he is? Super funny. Plays a guy named Jimmy. Him and the Mick have a thing on and off again, but he moves into the mansion with her. He's another one with the physical comedy. I mean, he probably gets his ass kicked in every single episode, and it's hilarious. So it is highly recommended on Hulu. We're talking a short sitcom. Like I said, it comes from Fox. And some other people, Scott McCarthy's brother is it Hayes McCarthy? Do you guys know him? He's a stand-up comedian.
No.
Okay, so
relatively familiar.
If you saw him, you like I Googled him. I know that guy. I know who that is.
If another stand-up comic saw him, we'd be like, he's not that funny. Anyway. Am I right, Jeff? Sal, come on.
Why did it get canceled? Why didn't it get renewed?
Anyway, I promise, it is so inappropriate. It's like Fox. It's as inappropriate as you can get on network TV. And
now, who plays the girl again? The Mick?
So that is Caitlin Olsen. You know what? Remember Hacks on HBO?
Caitlin Olsen. Yes. Great. Yeah.
Real pretty blonde, super funny. I thought that role on Hacks was not her best. Okay. She's so much funnier than that. But I loved Hacks. Yeah. Anyway, so she plays the daughter.
Jean Smart.
Oh, she's Jean Smart's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you not watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Jeff? Have you not seen that?
I've seen like a season or so.
Okay.
I loved it. I just didn't continue.
It's a great fucking sitcom. That's probably my favorite sitcom.
It's
a really funny show.
Yeah, it's great.
Really funny.
Yeah, but no, great review. I agree completely. I watched all season. I think she didn't do more, Jeff, because maybe I don't know. Maybe it was too much work with Sunny because that's still going on too. So that could be it. But I feel like from I listened to their podcast as well, and I think this is like the comedy she wanted to do. She wanted to do physical stuff. She wanted to kind of be the badass. It's very bad Santa like, you know, where she's like she's the fuck up, but she gets in so many shenanigans. It's worth a watch. I mean, it's funny.
I don't know what it is. But...
You'll just laugh. It's silly. It's just silly, good old sitcom.
I need to watch something silly. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, check it out.
All right. Well, let's
good job, Marcy.
Thank you.
Finish it up. Speaking of silly, let's talk about Raging Bull.
Oh yeah, it's such a silly. Mine too.
Movies, man.
God, well, this one's for you, Sal.
Oh, I love
All right. So and Jeff, thank you for indulging me in my my predilection for watching boxing movies, talking about them. I could do it all day, every day. This is if you look at in my view, there are two great boxing movies. One of them is Rocky, the other is Raging Bull. One is very stylized and misty-eyed and sweet and corny and lovable and awesome, and that's Rocky. I can't get enough of that movie. I see something new every time I see it. This one, Raging Bull, I think I'm glad I watched it again because I was thinking about Scorsese's constant ranting against Marvel and, you know, big movies and popcorn movies, how they're not quote unquote cinema, right? And I thought, you know, that's kind of a cheap shot that he's doing. People are acting in all kinds of things, and whatever the public wants, the studios will give them. Cinema, you know, it's a very small demographic. People with the patience to watch, you know, a 2.5 hour movie where it's very talky and very touchy feely. But this one, Raging Bull, is both of those things. It tells the story of Jake LaMotta. I know we're running out of time here, so I'll.
You got plenty of time. Just go.
All right. So it tells the story of Jake LaMotta, who was one of the oddly enough, he's not considered one of the greatest middleweights of all time, but he should be because he beat Sugar Ray Robinson twice. He lost the third time. Now they didn't give him the second one either, but they gave it a draw, which was nonsense. He won. This was a guy who beat Sugar Ray Robinson in his prime, and Sugar Ray Robinson is considered to be pound for pound one of the top 3 fighters of all time. So that kind of jarred me when I'd forgotten about that. I forgot that part of history. But getting back to this whole cinema thing and integrating it with a boxing movie, Scorsese is just a flippin' master. And by the way, a little interesting bit of trivia about this movie. Scorsese said he never spent more time editing a movie than he did Raging Bull because he thought it was going to be his last movie.
Wow.
Because he had delivered a couple of clunkers to the studio. One of them was New York, New York. And the other one was, I got to think of the other one now. But they were like, hey, you know, Marty, whatever. This was before he was Scorsese. He was just Marty, right? And so this movie is infused with that attitude of his. He wanted to tell this story with all the warts. Jake LaMotta was an asshole. He was just a piece of garbage. He beat his wife. He beat up his brother. He beat his kids. And Scorsese, to his credit, doesn't gloss over it. In fact, he shows you almost too much sometimes because you just want the violence to stop. But it can't, because that's the story. He's such a piece of human garbage, but he's such a driven fighter, fighting these demons. I mean, he does things like, and this is all true. Jake LaMotta, you know, his wife, he married her when she was 15 or 16, and he was married at the time. He met her when she was 15. She was like a lifeguard at a pool or something. So at different times, different sensibilities. But anyway, nobody cared about that back then. What they did care about was the fact that he was a guy from Brooklyn who was going to get a title shot. And by the way, he fights Sugar Ray, beats him, and then fights him again 3 weeks later. 3 weeks, okay? Now it's a year. It's minimally a year before somebody fights somebody else again, or a year and a half or 2 years. So it's different times. Now, Scorsese shows what a psycho LaMotta is, and he doesn't make excuses for him, but he just keeps peeling the onion back on, okay, this is the way this is why this guy is the way he is. You can take him or leave him. I mean, he literally knocks out his wife. Kathy Moriarty was her first movie role. It was Joe Pesci's first movie role, played LaMotta's brother. He savaged him, beat him up, accused him of having sex with his wife all the time, and somehow managed to be a champion and to keep his eye on the ball and somehow keep winning these fights. Well, like boxing is in most cases, it becomes a cruel thing toward the end of a fighter's life, and he doesn't win anymore. There was one part of the movie that was so telling about the character and the way Scorsese did it, and I loved it. LaMotta was scheduled to fight this kid named Tony Gennaro, and that's his real name. And he had some idea in his head that his wife, Kathy Moriarty, she mentioned something about how handsome he was. Oh, that's a handsome kid. So LaMotta hears this and goes, okay, this kid's going to pay. And he just pays and pays. He could have knocked him out in the first round, but he just carries him round after round, beating him and beating him and beating. And just when the guy's going to go down, he backs off so that he can survive the round, so he can go out and beat his ass for another round. This was LaMotta. And that particular point in the movie is where Scorsese brought that sort of cinema thing in. I have that cinema thing, and I don't mean to diminish it. It's where he brought his movie making sensibilities in that he still does today, and makes something out of what would have been kind of an inconsequential event in someone's life. It shows you right then and there who you're dealing with. And at that point, you switch gears on how you feel about LaMotta. Now you're like, dude, you're going to get it. You got to get paid back for this shit you're doing to people. And it's not, I mean, you do root for him. You want him to win the title. But at the same time, you're like, God, I hate you, you piece of garbage. So, and that's all Scorsese doing that. So I have to say, and I'm going to just wrap it up here. I'll just say, I get what Scorsese was saying now about the lack of a focus on cinematic movies, if that's the word. Because
true film.
Yeah. Yes. Because you watch this. I mean, he shows you all of it, man. There's nothing held back. But somehow there's still some romance because it's a movie, and he doesn't completely let you go down the hole where you have no respect for LaMotta. You have some, and that's what keeps you going throughout the whole movie. So there you go. Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. Awesome, Bob.
Hey.
Good job, Bob.
Great job all around. Fabulous show. Thank you, everybody.
It was a really good show.
Special thanks
That
to
was
our
great, folks.
guests, Holly and Tony. Holly,
Thank you, Holly.
Holly,
Tony.
Nice meeting you, Holly.
Thank you so much.
Plug your,
You guys are great.
Plug your
The
podcast
Berardo.
again.
Yes, follow Holly Shannon, Instagram. Follow my show, Coffee Culture. Look, I'm trying to get my little fingers in the right spot.
I'm going to check out your coffee culture.
Yeah, me too.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Tony, nobody ever says they're going to check out your podcast when you bring it up, but bring it up again. Let's see what we can do.
Mine's not about coffee. If it was about coffee, maybe they listen to it. I mean, I don't know.
I will check it out.
Yeah, health and wellness, the Berardo right there. Check out the podcast available everywhere. Thanks for having me on. This was a blast.
Yeah.
Tony has a great podcast, and he's got an awesome company with his wife, Meet Cute. So you check that out. Sal.
Nice.
SalD'Amelio.com. If you're out and about, Janetti's Sal and Bob podcast, listen to that. Got a new episode out this week. Interview with Nigel Collins. Speaking of boxing, a very good boxing, Hall of Fame boxing writer. So listen to Sal and Bob. SalD'Amelio.com. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Bob.
All right. Hey, it's the 18th sellout in a row at Janetti's Hole in the Wall Theater, the Sal and Bob Show this Thursday. You can't get tickets, but you can stand outside and lick the condensation off the windows. It's going to be a barn burner. We have our friend Ron Feingold coming up. And then later on in April, I'm going to be at the Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City.
Nice.
And then a bunch of stuff in between. But BobPhillipsComedy.com. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. And Marcy, where are you going to be tomorrow?
I'm going to be the Bob and Sal show tomorrow night, actually.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Hey. I got my tickets. Yeah, so that's where you'll
No-
find me tomorrow.
No licking condensation for Marcy. She's gonna
None.
eat.
I'm gonna lick the carpet inside the restaurant.
All right. Gonna be a fun
Where
one.
is this, by the way?
It's in Northville, Michigan. It's on Main Street.
Yeah.
It's a little
Sorry,
bit
I'm
far
not able to
anyway
make
from-
that.
Yeah, well, next
Yeah.
time.
Next time.
Girl-
I'll be licking the
night out.
condensation of mine. Yeah, right?
Ron, say goodnight.
Back in the air on Delta Airlines, heading off to Nashville, Tennessee, and Opryland on Sunday night. So excited about that. But
All right, baby.
guys, have a great one.
Awesome.
Hey,
And
nice.
Thanks.
so when I was the headliner of one of the 18 sellouts of the Bob and Sal show,
Yes.
this woman, this sounds horrible, but remember she collapsed. This woman
Oh.
collapsed.
The Fall of Catherine.
Yeah.
And-
Should I be scared?
She ended up okay, so I'm only bringing
Yeah.
this up because she was okay.
Yeah.
But after a while she gets up, and she shouldn't have, and they're trying to walk her into the other room because she literally passed out in the front of the stage.
Yeah.
They're trying to walk her out of the room. She drifts to the left, and then I tell you, face plants into a brick wall. And then if you can picture a human being just falling backwards, full falling back, feet in place, and just out cold backwards.
Yeah.
Boom. It actually made
Oh
it
my
worse.
God.
And she went out cold.
Trust
And then-
fall.
I don't want to
Listen,
laugh, but it sounds funny.
No, she was okay. So.
It was okay.
She was
but it just
okay.
like,
Oh,
oh,
my
man.
This
God.
raises
She-
the bar for
yeah.
tomorrow
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
She
got-
died. She died on the second time she fell, but the first time.
She got fabulous Sal and Bob prizes.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Mark,
all right,
you
I'm
watched
Jeff
the, walk
Dewaskin.
in the bathroom.
I'm host of Classic Conversations. You should, my current podcast is Joyce Bulifant, which she was Gavin McLeod's wife on Mary Tyler Moore show. But also an interesting story in the podcast is, and this is something that as I've kind of grown the podcast and you start to interview multiple people, you can start to ask somebody one question, ask somebody about something, and then you have that person on and ask them, and you get like 2 points of view. Like I had Sharon Glass on, she was Cagney and Lacey. Well, I had Loretta Swit on, she was Hot Lips from MASH, right? But she was actually the first Cagney. She was actually the first Christine.
Oh, she
Cagney.
was, huh? I didn't
And so
know that.
it kind of like getting the story. But Joyce Bulifant, we talk about this a lot because I had Lloyd Schwartz on my show, who was the son of the person who made the Brady Bunch. But she was Carol Brady. She was literally cast as Carol Brady. And then the upper ups said, well, Florence Henderson's available. And so they ended up getting Florence Henderson and kicking her out. It's a really cool story. So.
Now it's Joyce Bulifant. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, she's the little blonde. I remember her from all kinds of things.
She's in Airplane in the scene where the person singing and knocking out the girl from Airplane.
The IV tube.
The IV tube. She's the mom in that scene.
Yeah.
So all right, everyone. Thanks for everything. Thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you.
Thank
next
you.
time. And that
So
has
nice
been
to meet
another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff Dewaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dewaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcast, Classic Conversations, and the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.